Welcome to day 52 of the Gospel of John book club. And in today's reading, one of Jesus' disciples came packing.
What?
It's about to be on right now.
Oh my
Like, are you ready? Do you know it's about to go down? It's about to go. Let's try that one. In today's reading, it's about to go
No.
down.
Okay, let's go. Let's keep going.
All right.
All right. Today's reading is in John chapter 18, verses 1 to 18. After saying these things, Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley with his disciples and entered a grove of olive trees. Judas, the betrayer, knew this place because Jesus had often gone there with his disciples. The leading priests and Pharisees had given Judas a contingent of Roman soldiers and temple guards to accompany him. Now, with blazing torches, lanterns, and weapons, they arrived at the olive grove. Jesus fully realized all that was going to happen to him, so he stepped forward to meet them. "Who are you looking for?" he asked. "Jesus of Nazarene," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said. Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. As Jesus said, "I am he," they all drew back and fell to the ground. Once more, he asked them, "Who are you looking for?" And again they replied, "Jesus the Nazarene." "I told you that I am he," Jesus said. "And since I am the one you want, let these others go." He did this to fulfill his own statement, "I did not lose a single one of those you have given me." Then Simon Peter drew a sword and slashed off the right ear of Malchus, the high priest's slave. But Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword back into its sheath. Shall I not drink from the cup of the suffering the Father has given me?" So the soldiers, their commanding officer, and the temple guards arrested Jesus and tied him up. First they took him to Annas, since he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest at that time. Caiaphas was the one who had told the other Jewish leaders, "It's better that one man should die for the people." Simon Peter followed Jesus, as did the other disciples. That other disciple was acquainted with the high priest, so he was allowed to enter the high priest's courtyard with Jesus. Peter had to stay outside the gate. Then the disciple who knew the high priest spoke to the woman washing at the gate, and she let Peter in. The woman asked Peter, "You're not one of that man's disciples, are you?" "No," he said, "I am not." Because it was cold, the household servants and the guards had made a charcoal fire. They stood around it warming themselves, and Peter stood with them warming himself.
Yes. Ooh. Man, it's going down. I love this. It's just so, you can see the drama building. You can see the scene being set. Jesus just finished talking to his disciples,
nervous.
Preparing them.
I know what's going to happen, but
He
I'm
just
nervous.
finished praying for them.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, now's the time. And I love like the entry. They come and you know what? I never really paid attention to like now with blazing torches and lanterns and weapons, like how they
Torch
came.
and pitchforks. They just like...
They came with the force.
That's crazy.
They came with the force they were looking to arrest Jesus. And it's just so amazing how when, he's like, "Who are you looking for?" And, they're we're looking for Jesus. He's like, "I am." And like that I am again is that
Yes.
the power of his presence, the power of who he is as he announces it. They all kind of like fall to the ground. It's like, wow,
I would
he
have
just
dipped.
disrupt.
After that.
Well, yeah, you would have been scared.
I was like, I'm getting out of
Jesus
here.
wasn't. Jesus was prepared.
No, I'm saying like if I had fell after that.
Oh,
man
you mean
said-
if you came?
I came
Okay, I got
to
you.
come arrest him, and he says, "I am," and I fall to the floor, all of us,
Yeah,
I would have dipped. Like,
yeah. I thought you were like Jesus should have dipped.
No.
I'm like, no. Jesus is supposed to. This is supposed to happen.
no, I would have left. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I could do
yeah.
this, but I'm
Okay, this
leaving.
is a little creepy, guys.
For real.
Like, hold on. And then, but then he repeats it again. Who are you looking for? And I think that's just so powerful. It's and I think just to your point, it's almost like, you sure y'all want to do this? you shouldn't. Y'all see who's in control here, and I just love how Jesus, while he seems so passive, how really he always reminds us that God is in total control. He's always in total control of what's happening. And whatever is happening, it's not happening because he can't control it or somebody has done something. It reminds us, as we discussed, as we've been reading through the Gospel of John, that these things are happening because he's chosen. He's chosen to fulfill God's calling in his life. He's chosen to be the one who was sent. He's voluntarily allowed, himself to go through this. He's the chosen one, and so he's made the choice to fulfill God's mission. He even says it. He says in verse 11, he says, "Shall I not drink from the cup of suffering the Father's given me?" Because Peter came like, "Get out of here! Y'all ain't taking my Jesus, not my Messiah." And he's just like, Peter, like, in one of the other passages or other gospels, one of the writers says, he actually says to him, "Get behind me, Satan."
Wow.
He kind of rebukes Peter. I like that they don't show that in here because he just really focuses on John the writer, who's also here. Every time you see that third person disciple, he's like the other disciple. Like John is talking about himself down in verse, where is it at? Down in verse 16, he said, "Then the other disciple who knew the high priest," like when he starts talking in third person, he's really talking about himself. But I love the fact that, when Jesus, kind of like he's just challenging Peter. He's just like, "Peter, like, no, let this happen. Like, do you not want me to drink what God has planned for me? Do you not want me to partake in what's supposed to happen for me?" Like, wow. And that's so profound because what's about to happen isn't anything pleasant. He's about to be executed.
Wow.
He's about to die. He's about to take on the sin of the world. He's about to be separated from God the Father because of the sin being on him. Sin that he never experienced he's going to take it on. The scripture said he's going to become sin. He who knew no sin became sin.
Wow.
But the great exchange is this. He became sin in that moment on the cross so that we might become his righteousness. So us who don't know righteousness become that. We become righteousness and he becomes sin. And so I just think that that's just so powerful. And I love, and that I am just reminds us, nope, I am unlimited. I'm unchanging. I am God. Like it's just so, it's such an incredible moment. It's exciting.
It is. Well,
well, yeah. I'm sure it wasn't exciting for.
Like I'm getting nervous. I'm like thinking about it. I'm looking like, oh man, this is happening. And I know how the story goes. I know it ends and it ends in joy. But having to go through it and reading again, knowing like being faced with what Jesus suffered on our behalf is just a little, it's hard to read again. It's a little difficult, but I have to ask you.
Okay.
There's a couple things.
I'm scared of this question.
No, it's not. It's not.
No, I'm joking.
No, it's a couple things that I want to kind of draw out here. So, Peter, he's zealous again. He's excited.
Yeah.
And Jesus comes, and I imagine in the back of his mind, he was like, Jesus just said, I'm betray him. Watch, I'm not going to betray him. Here I am, and I'm to his side. And then Jesus rebukes him and says, no, this is not how we're going to do it, And then to go into this peaceful place of doing this the way that Jesus wants, then he goes and denies him just immediately after.
Yeah.
So confusing. What is that about?
Yeah, I mean, I think
what is that?
I think it's just really just the nature of mankind, of just kind of who we are. It's like Peter was like, I'm ready for the fight. I'm going to defend the Lord. And, he's just kind of ready. And Jesus is like, chill out. Chill out. And then, Peter then has a chance to kind of follow along with John the writer, John. Yeah. They're following along.
Yes, that was the other thing I was a little confused about here.
So
the other disciple.
Yeah, so the other disciple is John the writer. He always refers to himself in third person. Mm-hmm. At the very end, on day 60, we're gonna see him kind of reveal himself in a certain way.
So John the disciple, the writer, John, knew the high priest.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little confused about this exchange then, because why would Peter deny Jesus?
Well, yeah, I mean, Jesus just knew his heart, and Peter was afraid, because Peter sees Jesus now going through this death, and I think probably for Peter, the realization of, he is going to die, because he's allowing himself to be arrested. I went to protect him. Mm-hmm. I stepped up, to protect him and to guard him, and then, that's not what he wanted, and so he's willingly going through this thing, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't want to be there. And I think the reality of death and the reality of the trial that's about to come, the reality of going through what he had been prophesying, what he had been preparing them for, it's there, and it's like, oh, okay, Jesus, I'm not ready to die.
And I think also there's this unveiling of this heart issue of wanting to control, of wanting to be in control of a situation.
That's good, yeah.
And I see a lot of, when you want to be in control, you do it by any means necessary,
That's
you
right.
know? And this is always Peter's thing. No, and then he wants to control the situation by force,
right.
or because that's his strong suit, I'm imagining. But now in this position where God is saying, no, I want you to relinquish control.
Yeah.
And he can't. This is like this thing that he's holding on to. It's like he wants to be in control of the situation. And when he can't be in control of the situation, it's like, no.
Yeah, I think we're the same way. Because how
Exposing.
many times is God doing something in our life that looks bad, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you're going through a moment and God is using this dark or challenging, I won't say dark, this challenging moment in your life to try to bring you to a greater degree of trust in him. And so maybe there's not enough money in the bank account and bills are due.
Yeah.
How many of us start thinking like, how am I going to make this work? Because we're so afraid that God's not going to come through. And so, we go and try to borrow money from just any and everybody, or go back to somebody who we shouldn't even be acquainted with anymore, just to go borrow, you know what I'm saying? Because we're trying to fix the situation.
Yes.
Because it's like, okay, well, God isn't coming through. I gotta do something. Right? It's like Jesus is about to he's gonna let himself get arrested. Peter's like, I gotta do something. And I think we all are kind of built in with that type of control. Like we want to take over. We essentially, and I hate to say it like this, but this is the reality of what it is. We want to be God in our own lives.
And I think in a sense, this is what aligns with Judas Iscariot. Yeah. We're seeing the same thing happen with Peter, where Judas is like, I want to be in control of my life and my situation. This is how I do it. Yeah. And it's through money. Yeah. And Peter's like, I want to be in control of my life, my situation. This is how I do it, with my aggression, and I just get things done. Yeah. And and this time I'm ready. I'm doing it. And so now, like, we see this in the midst of when it's getting difficult, when it's down to the wire, and their heart issues are exposed. We get to see them when the pressure's on.
That's what comes out of you when the pressure's on.
What's in our heart comes out. Yeah. What is it, that thing that we're trying to hold on to? And what is that thing that what is that idol? What is that thing that we're holding on to that's in exchange for Jesus? And we see it with both of them. Judas, now we're seeing it with Peter. Yeah. And we're seeing it in a sense, these are like the two.
Well, all the disciples, because
we see it with all of them.
All abandoned
But
him.
I feel like John the writer is allowing us to see this parallel between Judas Iscariot and Peter. And they both made the same decision to abandon Jesus.
That's right.
But
watch what happens.
Let's see what happens.
All right, so I just want to end with this. Are you willing to drink from the cup that Jesus has prepared for you, regardless of what's in it? And I think so many of us, God has something for us. He's going to bring us into something. We want to be used by God. Use me. We get our worshiping, and it's just like, God, use me, Lord.
Is that a real song? You just made that up?
I've heard somebody say, I don't know. It sounds real, right?
We're taking it.
Yeah, we're taking it. And when we say the words, and then God's like, okay, here's your opportunity. It's like, not right now. No, that's not what I wanted. That's too much. And so, are you willing to drink from whatever God? Do you trust him enough to go through whatever he brings your way for his glory? Kind of like the blind man. Blind all those years, but it was all for God's glory.